Hi, everyone. My name is Bruce, and today on Khy's Musings, we are going to be doing some discussions about various things from fighter and naval style operations and games to time management and other joyous things. With me tonight is my co host, Khy. How is Khy tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. How are
Excellent.
you?
I cannot complain. It's been a beautiful day, ran a good campaign, had one of the highest compliments that could be paid to a DM during said campaign. He said, I lost track of time.
That is a very good compliment.
I don't like to fish for compliments, but man, when you hear shit about that, that's just joy. That really is joy. It's like, yes, I've done it right, because that's what you're supposed to get. That's when you run a game, you want your players to lose themselves in it and be able to actually have a chance to role play. And I'm no longer Bob who has an accounting job or a garbage disposal job. Now I'm Tom the fighter, or Tom the thief, or Jimmy the magician, and you give them that opportunity to do something that you're not going to be able to do Wednesday through Tuesday. Just simple things. And with us, we have some chatters already. Hey, Lloyd Christmas,
Yep.
and our friend Travis J. 1975. Don't go into the water. No, do not go into the water.
No, not going to.
So
But don't worry,
you're talking about like fighters and whatnot, and
going over it.
yeah, we were going over fighters, and like one of my favorite jet planes of all time was the F-14. It's probably my favorite, thanks to the movie Top Gun. But there was other things where the F-14 showed its dominance, and one of them being very oh my god, it was overpowering. Was the final countdown where they splashed two zeros, and there's other media out there with the wonderful jet from I believe it's McDonnell Douglas that made that wonderful piece of machinery built around a singular missile, and they I don't think they ever fired that missile in combat, did they?
I'm not sure.
I
Uh,
don't think it was really tested by the F-14.
I
They
wish I
might,
could,
but
for the Phoenix. I wish I could tell you exactly how if it did. But then again, we how often did it actually go after anything actually hostile?
very rarely. We might have used it in the latter years of the Vietnam War, but it was very much a thing that was carrier based and carrier queen. And once we got the F-15 out, that was like our new go to.
Yep. Hey, Hungar.
Oh, our friend Hungar is here. Hungar, how are you tonight, sir? Hopefully, Hungar is doing well. Hungar, stop playing with those nurses. Ah, my favorite waitress over at Ojos Locos received one of his shirts. I really did my best for that. She's a quite a fantastic wait staff person. Very attentive, very much wanting to get to know you. She does like a good tip, and just everything you want in a wait staff. That's all. Um, the F-15, we shot a fucking satellite out of orbit because we wanted to
Prove
flex.
it could be done.
It's one of the best moments in naval and air force history where we launched one of those. I think it was as air was runway launched, and we were just trying to show off to the Soviets, like, look what we can do. And it went to like the edge of space, and let me let me lock onto this satellite. Boom, no more satellite, and it kept the Russians in their corner of the world, which was nice.
Oh
So,
yeah.
well, how would you want to have fighters set up with your game? Because you're talking about like airships and naval ops, and how would you want to do that?
Honestly, okay. So the thing here is that how we think about this is over the fact that on Discord, on the Gilded server, there's been a talk about the about airships in one of in Crafting Gamers game that he's developing, and the thing here is that I was coming to there's so many different problems with the idea of fighter planes. We have when we're I Star Wars has this as a similar issue where if the speed of the fighter is almost like, why are you developing it? Why are you putting it out there if the ships are almost as maneuverable, almost as fast as the actual fighter itself? If you've ever played Star Wars, Star Wars D6, you'll know that there's a certain point where you can build a tramp freighter. Oh, nice.
That was a shirt she requested. She loved it. Okay.
Yeah, but you could build a tramp freighter that's bigger, faster, can take more punishment, and carry more firepower than any fighter can ever bring to battle. And for an actual cheaper purchasing price than a single X-wing can cost. You have a longer duration, more crew, better weapons. It's a similar problem that you have like in Traveler, actually. But and so when you're trying but since I don't know enough about what Crafting's game that he's creating is, because I know where I came across, where in the game that I run, in that setting, how my solution to the fighter problem was. That was because of the fact that the airships were just big, and they were faster than they were still faster than on the ground, but they were still slow. You were looking at like Zeppelin, the fastest ones were moving at Zeppelin speeds, which, hey, 80 miles per hour in the sky with a big giant rigid airship, pretty fast, but that's slow. And they were able to hover, which was the whole point. So on average, the speeds were between 60 to 80 miles per hour ships, and that was their top speeds. So there was still so when I threw in propeller-driven aircraft that could push speeds of 350, 400, 450 miles per hour, there was a distinct difference between, well, yeah, you have a standoff capability and the ability to do something, they were sufficiently different. They couldn't hover, or they had limited hovering abilities, and that was my solution. Was there was a major speed difference. I also don't have a transit drive system that here. So when the ships are moving at fast speeds, in essence, fast speeds, then again, I run a game that's not steampunk. I run a diesel punk game. Sorry, it's in a post-apocalyptic diesel punk steampunk.
Hold on. What is the difference between steampunk versus diesel punk? Because there are some people that we have that may be watching that are unaware there may be a difference here.
Okay, steampunk is your Victorian era, the later stages of the Industrial Revolution, where you're looking at triple expansion steam engines. You're still looking at, it's the pre-turbine era. You really haven't gotten to liquid fuel gasoline, gasoline powered ships.
So you're still doing like solid fuels like coal and wood.
Yeah, you're looking at solid. It's steam. You're burning something and you're boiling it, and you're going to get the big smokes. Your big smokestacks. And everything moves clunkily, and it's anachronistic, but it's in this weird era of experimentation. You haven't quite hit the modern era. Diesel punk fits into that the interwar era, the end of the Great War, pre-Second World War era. You have the introduction of many of the concepts that will eventually change the world. They're on the horizon, or they're in their nascent states. It's where your your Doc Savages exist, your the Shadow, a lot of your the idea of like, here's my super tech, this is my cool mad scientist device. It's where somebody can still, you're not at one off handcrafting, you're now into the the mass production era is coming around. So things that you know today are still the cutting edge. So a semi-automatic, pistol or a semi-automatic rifle is still, it's not unknown, but it's not widespread. The machine gun is still kind of actually interesting and powerful, but the idea of the automatic cannon, it's not quite refined enough yet. But if somebody has a prototype or it's out there, okay, that's scary. You don't have radar. Radar is a theoretical idea. It's it's an interesting transitional era where things are still coalescing, and it's a fun weird era. I choose that one because it's it is that transition point where the dreadnought moment has happened. Somebody has done something that has changed the world. It's no longer steampunk. It's gone into it's starting to it's clawing towards the modern day, but it's not there. And it probably will never get there because different choices are being made. Because that's just how because I know it's so easy to make a one for one comparison to our world that everything was going to transition along the the tech lines that we know today. But it there are points where changes could have happened and we never would have made it to on the course that we're here. I I mentioned it last time, but when I rewatched the video, it didn't make the actual video. But there's if you play D&D and you know siege weapons, there's this point in history. We're all familiar with the ballista, right? Yeah. But the thing here is that the fall of the Roman Empire stops development of the ballista. The industrial know-how, the engineering know-how that allowed for that torsion engine weapon dies with the empire. It continues on in other parts of the world, but for for Europe, it dies. You still have catapults, but in some ways, but there's nothing until the First Crusade when the trebuchet is reintroduced and it explodes across everywhere, but no one continues the development of, well, what in essence is the ballista that we all know. But the thing here is that when we play a fantasy game, there's no excuse why no one continued to develop these weapons and these ideas and concepts as time went forward. Because if you look at, say, the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Koreans, who all continued with this concept beyond where Europe stopped. The thing is that Europe stops developing everything in like 1350 when the cannon arrives, when gunpowder finally manages to.
That is like the time frame where everything just, if it wasn't focusing on gunpowder, it seems like, oh, we're done with this.
Yeah, and the
And
thing is, it's that year, that century, the world changed. I mean, and I know that's why every GM is like, I don't want gunpowder because it is a line. Yeah, it's a definitive line. Like you can almost point towards the fall of Constantinople and the arrival of early cannons didn't do anything because they were terrible. But once the first good ones arrive, which is which is the mid 1300s, everything stops. Like everything that we know as fantasy stops. big heavy armor starts to fall off, and thus you didn't need to have weapons designed to go through big heavy armor. So swords became lighter, and because, well, now you don't need protection, swords can become lighter and smaller and deadlier. And thus you had the evolution of the rapier and the saber coming into it, and thus melee changed entirely from big heavy knightly weapons like long swords, bastard swords, arming swords, and then it evolves into rapiers, eepings, and sabers, which come after this point. And it's like it's this progressive point that you're seeing. But the thing is that if you have a fantasy world that says no, 1350 does not happen, that date does not occur, well, then nobody stopped developing anything. So how long have you had? And I could point towards the evolution of ships as another thing here. Cannons didn't really change. Like, I know cannons were part of it, but you had for a long time the cog. The cog worked, but the cog eventually gives way to the caravel, which gives way to the carrack, which gives way to the galleon, and then the race-built galleons, and then those become the ships of the line. And then they eventually figure out that, okay, the big superstructures don't work, so they cut them down, and you start seeing the ships of the line that we now know as the Grand Age of Sail ships. And then the Americans go, we can cut that down even further, and they build the heavy frigate mentality, which the French and the British go, oh, the heavy frigate is a really good idea, and that becomes partially the inspiration of what will become Warrior, the first ironclad, because of the idea of, okay, cannons are starting to become more powerful. So you could see a line of evolution that it's hard for us to be able to go, it's 400 years from 1200 from 1300 when the caravel first comes out there and starts to show up, to the carracks, and to the 1400s and 1500s, we get the carracks and the galleons, and then it moves on to the Spanish Armada when you get to see the race-built galleons, and then the evolution. The thing is, cannons were part of it, but the ship design, from caravel to warrior is less than a 600-year period. I know that sounds like a long time, but we're playing in fantasy games often where we have the bullshit idea that no, these are like this empire's been around for 1,000 years. We're just sort of, and at that point I'm going, okay, and how long has these ideas been around? And at that point it starts to feel like we're playing Traveler and we're in the Third Imperium. Well, how long has the Third Imperium been around? Oh, a good 1,000-something years.
Okay, when you talk about Third Imperium, about the Third Imperium of quote unquote man, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's actually Traveler history.
Yeah, that's true. Like, most Traveler games are in the twilight years of the Third Imperium. Earlier Traveler is always dealing with the fall of always dealt with the congratulations, your game starts with the fall of the Imperium. And they've kind of fixed that over the years, and they've fleshed out the Imperium. So it's no longer starting with the fall of the Imperium, but you're seeing the cracks of the Imperium starting to form, where you can see the problems with the sector starting to happen. They've added the Fifth Frontier War. They've added the Soleimani conflict has happened. We're now into another border war. You're seeing where the Imperium is going to fall. You just don't know when, where, and how it's going to happen, unless you want to use older books and go, this is where I want to start. But since this is Traveler. Traveler is has two universes, the official one and yours. And if you don't want the Imperium to fall, the Imperium doesn't fall. If you want the Soleimani to actually gain, somehow gain back the Soul Sector, I gain back the home world. Well, okay, the Soleimani do it. If the third frontier, if the fifth frontier war doesn't end in a complete disaster, it doesn't end that way. You can continue to push the game as you want it to go, and it's beautiful that way.
So we need to also stop and just discuss one other thing here.
Sure.
In typical 70s sci-fi, like, even though the pop movement at the time was make dystopian science fiction movies until 1960 or 1976, there was something I noticed in a lot of good sci-fi that guys kind of had a shared universe. And I don't know if that started with like Trek, but I noticed it started a lot with other writers, and they would start borrowing each other's like races or jump drives or names of companies that they were playing with, and you had that. I don't know if Trek cemented it, but like Larry Niven, God bless him, he would take story ideas and he would just like cut and paste and put it into like this shared universe, and he made a lot of things very fun.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, I love Larry Niven. I don't even know if the guy's still around. I hope he is. I hope he's very old and very, very uh, sane and still doing sci-fi writings, or at least posting to boards talking about various plot points and character hooks. But I really think that what they had back then was so cool. And you see the sci-fi mentality of shared universes kind of come into the gaming space. And it wasn't until the lawyers saw there was money to be made once D&D gets hacked upon by Tolkien's lawyers in the late 70s. Stop using Hobbit. Can't use Hobbit. So okay, fine, it's halfling, whatever. And you have that, but for a long time there was like in sci-fi spaces you had so many shared universes and shared races and shared histories that if you're just trying to get a book out because there's a neat set of events that are in it and they make for a great story, and that's the key, great story. That's where I think 70s sci-fi was superior to a lot of other uh, ages of literature. And I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
No, I agree. I I, I like Niven's Zinti race.
Oh yeah, and those guys were everywhere, weren't they? In
Oh
Star
yeah,
Trek,
like
they were in Star Trek novels, right?
yeah they were,
And they
and
were
then
in the Fed Commander, if I remember right.
yep, Starfleet battles. The Zinti race is are the drone loving race of wonders that I mean, how can you not like? If you like missiles, the drone and the Zin are right there going, yeah, we do it really well. And the thing is that Niven Zinti get it's the whole reason why we have so many cat people races in every single RPG that's that's out there is because, well, who doesn't want to play a giant badass warrior race of cat people who have claws in their hands, do claws in their hands that stab, to do awesome things. Traveler has it. It's like Traveler has it. It was copied by the Wing Commander universe for the Kilrathi.
Yes.
And if you play Wing Commander, God, the Kilrathi are the best. Are the best like villains. They're like just great, and I love them. And David Weber copies them for the Connie of Orion for the Starfire novels. And but the thing is that Starfire dates back to a tactical war game from the 70s. So of course they're going to use the legally distinct but definitely not warrior cat people who like using missiles and fighter planes. It seems familiar.
I
But the thing,
love it.
I know. And the thing is that
And weren't they also in Silent Death?
yeah.
Okay.
And the thing here is that it's like when Weber rewrites his version of the Zinti, the Khy of Orion with an unpronounceable name, he makes them his. You can see where the DNA was, but it makes them their own weird fighter loving Klingons mixed with Romulan insane race of whack jobs, and they turn out to be some of the best characters in several of the books, and I love them to death. Like Weber knew how to write. Weber knew how to write them well because Weber knew how to write in a way that made you go, no. He channeled the older styles of sci-fi, but mixed it with more modern mill sci-fi progression that happened in the post.
He invented modern military sci-fi, I think.
In a way, yeah. Like he's one of the ones that, oh god, him and Drake do a lot with Hammer Slammers do a lot to
I forgot about Hammer Slammers.
To bring to kind of follow in the wake of Clancy's mill sci-fi, changing bringing military fiction from dry, miserable reads. I've read a few older military science fiction books that come from like the 70s and earlier 80s, pre-Clancy, pre-Hunt for October. They're just depressing. They really are.
I think really we needed Weber and we needed Drake, but then once you have the mill sci-fi Hunt for October come out, then you have guys like David Boyer come out as well.
Yep.
And he was really good for like small fleet actions. Crafting, if you want to do small fleet action stories, the Gulf, I believe, is one of them that David Boyer did. And it starts off with the sinking of a Knox-class frigate, which I'm excessively, I'm very familiar with Knox-class frigates, spending a year on one of those and getting to tour that.
Yeah. Well, to comment on everything that was said this evening, in my game, I have a pre-fall society that also has a society that exists from before the fall, so scary-ass technology. I have devil fruits in my game, so you could have the potential of cat people, which also can be passed on genetically from parent to adult or parent to child. And I'm trying to think of more advanced combat, because right now all I have is each side rolls a D10, a D100, and result determine who gets better advantage.
I've got ideas for that. I can give you those off the screen, but no, I do have it on my build build list to actually.
I've been meaning to actually look at a couple of those ships, because I wouldn't mind seeing what they look like for maybe informing some of the design I might want for my game. Because you can look at 1,000 pictures, but a model is so much more informative.
Okay, give me a second. Find yourself a copy of Jane's. Just okay. Jane's. It doesn't have to be this book, but there's a lot of books that are done by James and Conway's that give you everything you need to start. And yeah, the models are nice, but the thing here is that I wouldn't want to copy a Knox-class frigate 1-for-1 and put it as an airship. Because without understanding some of the design choices that went into why the Knox was built the way it was, the way it was designed the way it was, you could park it next to a Perry class, and to a layman they wouldn't be able to go, well, they're different ships, but you wouldn't know the major differences. Why the shape, the design, and the way that they're built matters, and there's a lot that goes to it, and there's choices that were made for those ships in those classes that don't translate well unless you have a reason why they would go that way. I'm gonna pull out the model one more time.
The Nox class is a really good tin can. If you just need 30 of something, you make Nox classes.
Yeah.
A Perry has a more integrated missile guidance system, has better. It starts with the same sonar tech with the towed sonar array and active sonar, but later on, the later revisions are supposed to be much better. I don't know specifically. I didn't serve on OHP.
That actually reminds me, Bruce, did you actually see some of the pictures I put in Khy's part of the Gilded?
I should go look at that, shouldn't I?
I actually got a couple pictures in there of ships that like have cannons on strings and like shooting like a dozen harpoon, basically like blades on strings at once. It's like some weird ass shit the AI come up with, but it's like after Khy said, "Oh yeah, you can have a circle of guns on your ship," and then like he showed me, he sent me off to an example of one of the his exact words, best example of this. It was like, yeah, I can see what he's talking about. Then there's literally when I first said circle, I was thinking midship, not midship. What's in it when it's level, not around its longest part, not around the center. But when I see that, it's like, oh, Khy's reading around the center. That makes far more sense.
But yeah, no, there are some major differences between these two ships, but they don't. But if you looked at them, if you were a layman, you really wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Because honestly, there's the running gag of anything armored that has a gun on top is a tank to the average person who's to the average layman. They don't know better. And the thing here is that holding a model of the hull is cool. You can see the details, you can see the designs, but there's so many little details that go into why everything was put there the way it is. Like, because I know that you were talking about fighters, fighters to your point, to your ships, and I'm like, what purpose do they bring? Are you going to bring to it? Don't answer me here, because honestly, it's a major thing. Because the thing here is that a hangar is a lot of space. It's a lot of space.
Yeah.
And you're going to be putting a lot of space that's going to be for storage, its parts, its maintenance, its fuel. If the things require fuel, and everything requires maintenance, and what's going to be arming the damn things, or what job they're going to pull. And you have to justify why, if it only carries 3, are you putting 3 of it? Now, with the case of the Perrys and the Noxes, those were carrying helicopters that are assisting in their primary job, which is finding submarines. Now, are you putting these things on with the job of... Yes, there was the reference to Tailspin, and that is the Iron Vulture is a crazy vehicle. The more you read into it, the more you realize, holy crap, Don Carnage has a flying Nimitz class carrier at his control that has two 16-inch rail guns on the front of it. He just doesn't have ammo for it. That's his only reason why he can't use them. And it's got outdated Great War defenses, but the thing is that you can see it. If there was any kind of a modernization program that was done to this thing, had the Great War not ended and the ships not been thrown into a decommissioned storage yard, so that way because that's the thing. When you read into the lore for it, there was more than one of this ship built, but they were all decommissioned and thrown into war's over, we don't need it, scrap it. And it was just sitting there for a number of years, scrapped, until Carnage, a young Carnage, shows up and then spends 10 years working on the thing and rebuilding it to make it work. And so it's nowhere near where it was supposed to be. And that's the thing, and that's the scary thing is it's a 1,500 foot long flying aircraft carrier that's nowhere, that's half rebuilt, scavenged pirate tech, and now you're kind of going, where would this ship have been had it stayed in military service and been modernized at any point? It becomes this terrifying thing when you go, oh, this was supposed to be a war-winning super weapon, and it's now in the hands of a pirate. And that's the fun part when you think about, like, oh, I want to emulate the Iron Vulture. That's like, the engineering in that thing is it's super science crazy, but the thing is, that's like Diesel Punk super weapon stuff right there. Like, that's Doc Savage levels of weirdness that exists. Like, because I have, like, some of the old comics and books, Doc Savage has a flying aircraft carrier base. It's the helicarrier for Shield for Marvel fans later. If you're a Marvel fan and later in history, you know the helicarrier. The helicarrier is just the evolutionary descendant of the idea of the flying armored battle Zeppelin airship carrier things that were popular in the 30s. And since Tailspin is a 30s pulp fiction diesel punk universe, of course they're going to have a giant flying doom carrier, and it kind of makes you wonder, what would the Iron Vulture have continued to look like had it stayed in Thembrian service? Because it was a joint vulture venture between Cape Suzette and the Thembrians on building that carrier. I kind of want to know, who are they fighting that they would require that requiring a ship that's 50% bigger than the USS Enterprise, CV-65, the nuclear carrier. It's 500 feet longer than that. That's how big it is. And you're sitting here going, carriers are big. This thing's bigger. This thing can go, and this thing can land in water and then take back off. It's a crazy vehicle, and there's a reason why I love it, because it's a madman's weapon. It's a super vehicle that you would see, like, any major villain, and this guy is just using it as his mobile base. And it's like, okay, because it can just eat cargo planes out of the sky, like some James Bond villain vehicle out of Moonraker. It's literally like Moonraker, but it's an airship. But it's slow. It's slow. Its average speed was much like how when I made my role-playing airships for my role-playing game, sits at about a cruising speed of 60 to 70 miles per hour with a flying speed of 100 miles per hour when it's trying to run away from the cliff guns. Sorry, Tailspin's one of my favorite cartoons, so I like that 100 episode TV show.
Now imagine what Khy was describing and make it the size of an island. And that's one of the ships you can make in my game.
Now, the thing here is that that's an almost, okay, does the island move quick? Does it? Or is it okay, does it move fast?
I was going to say it can, but the basic rule is going to make for the islands is, if you're going to make a jump like that, be prepared for things on the island, such as buildings, to potentially become unstable.
The thing here is that what you're just like, when you start looking at things that are that big, you're starting to move away from a vehicle to, it's a terrain piece that moves.
Yeah.
I know that West End Star Wars here, there are Death Star scale vehicles out there, but they're not what you would call mobile. They're mobile, but they're not. They're a terrain piece. Now, if you're saying that this island can move at fleet speed, and like it's moving at the same speed everybody else is moving. Why bother building anything else? But at that point, I want to point out the stupidest ship on all of history. The worst design that a crazy person in Japan came up with.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to put this in the same category of, oh my God, what were you thinking, stupid? Because at one point, there was an American senator who asked the U.S. Navy in the 20s and 30s, what is the biggest ship that, because the Navy kept asking for more money to build bigger ships. And Senator Tillman goes, well, let's cut to the chase. It's big. How much, and thus the Navy produces a series of designs known as the Tillmans. They're terrible designs, but they are exactly what Tillman asked for, the very limit of what the Navy could possibly build. Because Tillman wanted to just say, cut to the chase, just tell me how much money you want to spend so I can tell you no. But, so, all right. This is a thing known as the Zapang. This is a ship the Japanese designed. Oh, sorry, a single officer designed. It is a 500,000 ton ship.
Whew.
I cannot describe to you because there's no good design for this thing. Real surviving blueprints for this thing, but it is covered in 14-inch naval guns, and it had plans for being upgraded to have 16s to arm it not with Issei or Fuso class guns. They wanted to arm it with Nagato quality guns, and it was designed so that way one ship could go tooling out into sea, doing 21 knots somehow. Don't ask how it makes this speed, but it does.
It would do 14, maybe 13.
Yeah, it's just big.
With the tail end.
Yeah, it is the Zapang. It is the most stupidest ship. I mean, it makes even Hitler's H-class ships look like jokes.
Oh,
and
jeez.
And the H's are madman designs. The Tillmans are some of the worst and craziest designs that our Navy ever designed. Because we create stupid shit all the time, and I'm not even going to include
building shit.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to include the idea of the U.S. Navy going. We should just build a barge that's just covered in missiles, because that will be the greatest thing in the entire universe. Those are the arsenal ships of the 80s. I mean,
did we make the barge?
No, because there was never enough funding for the damn barge.
Okay.
Because the idea that putting 200 plus Tomahawks on a barge was not a good idea. But we thought about it. We built plans for it because we're crazy. But we weren't that crazy. Now, the Tillmans are stupid. The Tillmans are stupid, but don't worry. We also had stupidity that, like, the torpedo battleship. Yes, the idea of building a battleship that all it does is launch torpedoes. That was a brilliant plan. And we have some really dumb Tillmans. Yeah, like 80,000 ton giant battleships that were just covered in guns and went, no, that was a horrible idea. We should never build this stuff. But some crazy person who goes, I should put an engine on an island. I know that in your world that you have flying islands. So the idea of an island flying is not unknown, because I've seen it in other. I've seen the concept in science fiction. Usually, it's something borderline crazy. If you want to see an example of a mobile fortress that is an island. You can look at like the Zentradi headquarters from Macross. You can look at the Axis and the Axis headquarters and for Xeon from Mobile Suit Gundam. You can look at there's the concept of the semi-mobile fortress bunker. It's an asteroid that's been turned into a missile launcher base. And that's from those will show up periodically in various science fiction universes. But there's always a limit at where engineering says we can't make we can't build a hull that moves. And at that point, you're looking at any bigger than this, and that is the limit, which is why I really what was that?
Well, I was gonna. I was looking at what I said for the ship. The ship itself, even if you look at it, like the most weapons you could have, I think I've set up the rules so you can only have like a mixture of what the max number is. You can only have 1,000 weapons on an island ship, and honestly, that's not that many for something the size of an island. The original idea I had for them was not to be a weapon platform; it was to be a mobile city or continent.
But the thing here is that there has to be a limit to what is a. So what you're seeing here is what you're pretty much saying is that it's an existing island that you're strapping stuff to make it move.
You can do that, but that's very difficult. You actually have to break the island's magnetic pull to the planet, but once you do that, you can move it. More commonly, they build gigantic engines around a hull, gigantic engine, set it afloat, then build an entire island ship around it.
Okay, so there's no ways to do it. I would be hesitant if you're going to put any kind of design system into your game to do this. To put the mobile structure category of ships, which is what you're kind of looking at here. If you're building an island, it's like at that point we're looking at Death Star levels of construction being built here. I mean, that's the test program. It was a test program that ran for a while, and then it was sold off and then slowly scrapped, I think. It was an interesting design, but the U.S. Navy, for some reason, just does not like catamaran hulls for some reason.
Not into catamarans. Yes, they did. And if it wasn't the Empire, there was an actual shipyard that actually would just strap engines on asteroids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting thought.
Or that in one of the books, the Shiva Option by David Weber, they find a Ceres class, an asteroid the size of Ceres in a system, strap rocket engines on it. Sorry, not rocket engines. Nuclear pusher plates on it, and then start Orion driving it towards the gravity well. And then there was a major space battle because they were dealing with a planet that was so heavily fortified that there was no way to get the fleet into orbit to crack the planet. So they were just like, well, fuck it, we're just gonna throw a small planet at your planet. And so it was like a 9-month-long running battle across this solar system as, well, Ceres is now falling into the gravity well and being pushed by nuclear bombs the whole way, being constantly accelerated up to a significant amount of velocity. And then having the admiral who's been fighting this war against the bugs for a very long time up to this point, and having her just watch this moon just crack into an Earth-sized planet, and then there's like watching the crust break and the mantle being exposed to space, and the shockwave of Ceres hitting hitting a planet. It's probably the most interesting use of the Orion drive I've ever seen in sci-fi, and I love it to no end.
Makes sense. And
Oh,
when it comes to the island ships, I'm still working on the game overall. So
I know, but I'm only hitting you with these things because I'm practical, rational, and semi-patient. But once this hits, if this hits publishment, publishing, you're going to have some very, very detail-oriented nerds who are going to start asking a lot of questions.
yeah,
And they're going to be hitting you with a lot of weird comments, weird questions, and they're going to push designs at you that are going to hit things I guarantee you haven't thought of. I guarantee you I've missed.
yeah.
And
Well,
you got to be able to cover because you've painted yourself a very large base of things that can be from spelljammer techno magic to diesel punk weirdness to traveler to could be a traveler warship. I'm not going to say it's going to be a TL-16 ship, but it's going to be a TL-12, TL-13 warship that just lost its ability to jump. And when you have fallen empires, weird first one tech, mixing with, well, how do you create an interesting dynamic between between a flying Lord Nelson or a flying French steam battleship fighting a techno wizard flying seashell conch squid thing and a high tech laser spewing death ball triangle Dorito thing. Because
yeah,
I mean, if you look at I'm only saying this because if you have the most basic ship, the Type S Scout, the flying Dorito of Traveler, it is the basic ship that all players get, and you can slap a sandcaster on it. The sandcaster is a horribly it's not a great weapon, but it's a defensive weapon, and the sandcaster is what it sounds like. It is a sand blaster. It's a high velocity sand blaster, and if you want to flay the flesh off of anybody in the area around you, the sandcaster works. But the thing here is that, well, when you have a ship that's now able to fire sand at a significant chunk of sea of the speed of light because it has to intercept missiles in deep space, you're looking at some of the most strangest weapons that could be used. And the thing is, that's just flying in space. So you have that's not even a high-tech ship. That's a low-tech ship for Traveler, but it would be a fallen empire ship if you brought it down into another, into a world, into a normal fantasy world. So if you're going to start bringing in lasers, rail guns, and high-velocity weapons, you need to find a way to make that interesting to go up against, because most players understand when you play Traveler, the moment that a High Guard warship arrives, an Imperial High Guard warship arrives, you're fucked. Because you can't do anything against it. Because it's there. It's huge, and it's got 2 to 3 tech levels over you. And not only is it that, it's got more weapon mounts than you've got hull panels. And it's looking at you funny. So you look at your maneuver drive, your maneuver drive 2 rating engine, and look at and go pull out your Space James manual and go, that heavy cruiser's got twice our acceleration, and it's going to come and catch you. So there's nothing you can do. So you just play nice, because you're going to die if you do anything stupid. Don't worry, players do stupid. It's Traveller. It's what we do. We tend to play nice, get on board, and cause havoc, cause a fire, plug in a microwave backwards or something. I don't know, and then run away. And it's what we do. But the thing here is that you're not going to bring a TL-8 space shuttle up against a 15 Tigris class battle cruiser. The problem is that when you bring like a Fallen Empire sized mobile island, it's only got 1,000 weapons. In the scenario, the scenario you had us play for your playtest of your game, our ship had five weapons. Two to the two port, two starboard, one forward. Our main gun was our harpoon gun was to the front, and we had some broadside guns on board. We weren't that badly outgunned about when we went out and fought the pirates in that scenario. The problem here is that you have 1,000. Now, does that 1,000 mean battery gun? Is that like multiple bays, or is that individuals? Don't worry about it. This is all questions that you're about to that you can think about later. This is an important thing now. And yes, small degree of high velocity is definitely a great budget thing. It's a fantastic way of just going, I don't like you or anyone around you. Plus, I don't like that control panel and or computer over there. Sandblasting. It's great. It's great. And you just paint it red and call it a Milwaukee Sandblaster. It's great. I mean, but the thing here is that now, where are you going to go play with how do things that work? Because I don't care. It's like, okay, so you what? There's a whole slew of shit to go around here. From, well, does it have a really good ballista on board? Does it have gun barrels and guns, cannons? Does it have some kind of hypervelocity telekinetic and something chucker on board? I mean, there's a lot of things that need to come around, which is why usually when you pick when you're designing a game, you're trying to pick like a general unified era, and you have a very wide space, and now you got to cover it all, or you're just going to aim all your players towards the optimal most highest tech, best choice possible, because there's nothing else out there. I mean, yes, you can go out. You can go out to sea with the best 1890s battleship with a 21-inch naval gun that fires every 10 minutes, and it's got no elevation. It fires horizontally, but you heard that it's got a 21-inch gun on it. Fantastic. That's bigger than the Yamato. Fuck yeah. And so you realize that its rate of fire is measured in rounds per minute. Not rounds per minute. It's minutes per round. It's got no elevation, nothing. It's just simply it's a big bathtub armed with 4 big guns. Good. But that won't hold up against even Dreadnought. A decade and a half later, suddenly you have a ship that's armed with 10 of them, 10 12-inch guns. They can all point in one direction. They all look at you funny, and your ship just evaporates. Why? Because we had the Battle of Tsushima that happened. That tells you, oh wait, these ships where you suddenly had four major powers who all went, oh wait, we learned something from here, and everybody, without realizing it, it's heading towards the same design. The Americans put theirs in the water first, but because the American budget sucks, we get to call all future ships dreadnoughts rather than all future ships Carolinas. Um, the Japanese come to the idea almost at the same time, but they run into the same problem the Americans run into. They're broke. They don't have enough money, so the Kawachis don't hit the water and go into commission first. So we're still calling them all dreadnoughts. We're not calling them Kawachis. And the less we talk about the Germans, the better, because that ship's a piece of shit nightmare. Their first one. But the thing is, and the French would have loved to have gotten into this, but they were broke too, and because they're still broke after the Germans beat the crap out of them, and that seriously screws up their ability to build a fleet for a long time, and their ports suck, and there's engineering issues, and there's steel issues, and the French are a mess, the Italians are a mess.
Well,
the Americans are dumb. The Japanese are dumb. The Germans are fucking don't know how to build shit without buying it from the British. And the British are and the British have one crazy admiral who bankrupts the country so they can put it in the water first, and then goes, "Ha, we're the best. Oh shit! Now we got to build 1,500. Now we got to build 25 more of these things to have the lead we used to have." Shit. And so,
the idea for that is what you're supposed to be getting as the players, at least until future books come out, is supposed to be more Victorian era. And if you have something like a rotating gun, that's something a character invented.
The rotating gun is not a very new concept. You have that concept. It goes back pretty far to pre-Victorian.
I realize I put that wrong, because even I have rotating guns beforehand, because I have the small. I have at this moment large, medium, and large. The small, medium, large cannons. The small cannons are supposed to be those ones that sit on the deck rail, and you can fire in any direction.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry I'm hitting you with a lot of things, because this is a very, very deep and complex subject.
Well, the more you talk about it, the more I start realizing things. Like when you started talking about, are they batteries or are they individuals? It's like, I don't have a distinction for that, and people are going to be curious, especially given the fact, you have a small, medium, and large cannons. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Well, you start looking at that as the size of actual guns, and there's ships of the line do that. There's a lot too. Okay. I'm not going into Age of Sail gun design at the moment, because then we get into the insanity of like Dahlgren guns and Parrott guns and all the other weird developments that happened mid-Victorian era that change everything, and we get to really crazy, creepy designs that are weird. I mean, really weird. Please see the gun so big that it takes minutes to reload so you can fire another shot. Dumb. And it's very, very it's a mess. And the thing here is that you're putting it, all of this is predicated on one important thing. The world works like our world. The problem here is that your world doesn't work like our world. One, shit flies.
Yeah.
Shit flies. You have magic.
Magic changes everything.
Was that?
Magic just fucking changes everything.
It does. And magic does change everything. Magic changes all the equations that I have. Because when I was thinking about how to explain the evolution that led to where I don't have like deep down, I don't have to explain a goddamn thing when I run my games. Everything that I'm going through doesn't fucking matter when you're playing your game. You don't like when you're running your game. You don't need to know shit. You don't need to know you don't need to even understand what the Bureau of Ordnance and Bureau of Ships and Bureau of Aeronautics and Bureau of Engines fucking does. None of that shit fucking matters. That is sitting in its own. That is the American system. You don't need to have a crazy British admiralty that has some really messed up politics that allows one bonkers dude to change the world because he just is weird. I mean, Fisher is just crazy. I mean, he's great. It's crazy. But the thing is that you don't like. You can choose to say magic runs this shit, and it will work till somebody actually starts to ask questions. And you don't need to have the development. Now, I don't, but I want the development to understand the evolution of where did my things get to this point? Why are the airships in my world working the way they do? How does things work? Because I asked a lot of the same questions that led from my flying battleships to your flying battleships could have similar answers.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I went with the idea that that rather than you having some kind of magical flying keel logs or something.
No, it's specifically you have to use a sun gem with a very particular engine, with a very particular design of engine, which causes the hull to float. As long as the engine is given power from a sun gem, it can stay aloft. But it takes about 4 hours for the ambient energy to run out. But once it runs out, the ship starts sinking.
Okay, so you ran to a similar solution to what I was running with, the idea that I went with ambient mana collectors that were running through a giant spell engine that creates the levitation engine, which that was because of the fact that I was building off of earlier concepts from earlier fantasy. There, because the idea that I did like Iron Kingdoms, I did like the idea of some big arcane. I wanted some big loud room with giant flowing glowing cables, and this is where the ship does its thing, and that's how it works. And it's but I created techno babble mumbo jumbo to fucking make this work. But that was a very that took brains trying to put together to justify this slow evolutionary transition from I want cool thing to cool thing now makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'll admit I'm kind of like you in that aspect. I like having at least, even if it's magical in nature, I try not to do that too much, but I prefer some sort of logical explanation. Yeah. So a while ago for a treasure plate, I come up with or a treasure table, I come up with something called magnerite, which I turn around and said, well, this is what's used to hold metal barges in place when they're metal hulls in place when they're being built. And I thought about it, because I also turned around and said in the same exact paragraph what magnerite is. It is a material that is believed to be used what makes the islands float. Right. So I've been thinking about maybe using it for what the engines are made out of.
Right. At that point, you're looking at similar concept. So you have your unobtainium.
Yeah.
Or in heavy gear, that material is a magnetic monopole, which allows which allows for the land ships that are in that universe to operate. But the thing is, the land ship and the monopoles that are on Caprice, which is the main world of heavy gear, are pretty unique to the planet, and the land ships wouldn't work anywhere else in the universe. Which, okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of sucks because you wouldn't see them anywhere else in the galaxy. But it also means that anybody invading the planet has to deal with a giant floating battleship that can shoot you from while you're in orbit if you get too close.
Yeah.
It was a like it's a it's a balancing act. But then again, you have other worlds where they have ships, submarines that are pretty much, if you read between the lines, it's Sequest. It's the Sequest, and it mounts a giant laser to shoot ships in space. So the new Earth forces have to contend with. Well, if we go into the deep seas, Sequest will come and blow us up. I like that because it's Sequest, and I like that show.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's heavy gear, and like I said, we have you have an explanation. What you probably should have to do is figure out what the limitations of where the limits are for the plot devicium that allows for things to work. Everything requires something to have plot device to make it interesting.
Yeah. Well, admittedly, like when you were talking about the islands, I started thinking about when you first said, "Well, you make an entire island float." It's like, yeah, I like the idea of I like the idea of a ship. So I was like saying that, and I thought about it. A single ship, no matter how big that engine is going to have one hell of a hard time. I mean, a single engine is going to have a hell of a hard time holding up the edges of the ship just from its own sheer weight.
Right.
So you're going to need like multiple engines,
right,
to hold up an island ship.
Now, at that point, you're starting to run into to BattleTech's mobile structure idea. So it's not one ship; it's now a number of subcomponents that are operating together. But yeah, yes, Six Nations Sequest was a cool show.
Yeah, I enjoyed that show. I think I only seen the first season, but I enjoyed what I did see.
Was there only like one season?
No, there was 3 seasons.
I don't know.
The first 2 were the plot line, and then they jump. And then the 3rd season they jump. They do a time jump, and Ironsides becomes the new the new captain, and he is way like it goes from we're deep sea explorers playing Star Trek under the water, and then it becomes serious hardcore military sci-fi fiction, and the Sequest turns into Michael Ironsides' motherfucking pimp hand, the C edition, and you're like, okay, this ship is things are now weird, and this show, like 3/4 the cast changes, and the ship's now fights things much more often. It isn't just simply, oh shoot, there's an old Typhoon class ballistic missile submarine over there being run by terrorists who are attacking the air purifiers. There's actual shit going on here, and nothing makes sense. But don't worry, it's Sequest, so it's fucking good. And then it gets canceled.
That's too bad.
Because he had to go fight space bugs. The captain had to leave to go fight space bugs.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because it was roughly around that time period.
It's about the right time period for Starship Troopers to come out. No, that's a few years later down the road. But no, I mean, it's a good shit. I mean, I know that when I was like, blah. But the other question I crafting that I know I touched on this a little bit with Bruce, but I was like, I know you're talking about fighter planes. You need to figure out what role, what job those fighters are doing in your game, and how far away you're going to have them operate in a way that removes them from player characters being the focus of the game. there's a certain point where you start to lose players being more than just a cog in the machine. And if your players if your players' biggest thing that they can do is either, of course, if you're putting airplanes, I mean, fighters attack craft gives players the ability to be one amazing person who can do everything. Because, I mean, are you trying to make? Well, I guess what I'm trying to say here is how effective and useful are your small craft going to be compared to the bigger vessels? Are they going to be like a dominant force, a small addition? Are you going to try to do an all sitting, all dancing, one thing does everything vehicle that is so overpowering that, well, why isn't every ship a carrier?
I'm
Or
That
trying
was
not.
something that I thought was going to happen on World of Warships for a while, because first they started like doing this bullshit with, oh, we're just going to make Warhammer warships, and then I turn around and like now, no, you can spend $93 on this like battleship carrier. Everything will be a battleship carrier, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm fucking done.
yeah,
I wanted
Your
a historical
I-
fucking fights. I did not want this.
your
I-
battle planes can only do two things: barrel rolls, and the pilots can only do shoesies. Shoesies is an
Yep.
Australian thing, so that's it. You can do shoesies and barrel rolls. That's what your pilots can do.
Oh,
no.
what,
When
with the
World of
introduction of
Warcraft-
planes, the introduction of planes, admittedly, is relatively new. I kind of got inspired by that one picture, but I there would only be one nation, and they're actually like it'll be written in specifically. They're very secretive and do not use their true power. That would actually have like a fighter carrier that would be of any significant power. Most of them would be like the one of three that could be used more like scouts or maybe a defensive force, but not any
okay, so
significant
you're
number.
looking. So you're going to be so they're not going to be used as an attack element. They're more being used as the float plane concept. The idea
Yeah.
of the scout that could go out there and deploy thing to go look ahead. So
Yeah.
the idea of what ships carried them for in the pre-radar era. That's not bad. That's actually an interesting use for it. You're going to have some fun problems and complications and interesting stories that come from that. That's an interesting use. But Bruce, yes, I too was depressed when we got the battleship carriers, and they've only gotten worse over the years. Because now we
there's better things for me to spend my time on.
This
Yep.
is, I mean,
Because we've
this
got
is-
the Americans now have an entire battleship line of battleship carriers. The Germans are getting one. The Japanese have several.
It was okay when they started making like false Italian battleships that were short hull. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. These were things they were thinking about doing, and then they brought like nearly the carriers fleet that never was. I don't want to play that. I want to play authentic shit, you know. And
I know.
Just fun. Hey, Bo Pains Minis, how you doing, sir?
This game is, I mean, the game we're talking about is Crafty's steampunk with balloons in space. I mean, not space, but in floating island stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, more than just balloons.
I know. I would just. What you could do is have your plans look like they just came out of, like, I don't know, Da Vinci's notebook of shit I was thinking about while I was on the pot. Type planes where they look like mosquitoes or
Now
hawks.
let's see here. Let me get to
'Cause-
my files, and I have a particular file that, like, it's literally the first picture that started like, oh, maybe I will have fighters in my game, and it has a very very particular look. It's almost identical to what you're talking about. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
The answer to that is no. Fighters are a Pandora's box
Yeah.
that
Here we are.
that changed so much. That changed so many things.
WizKid came out with this miniature of this dragon, and it was a clockwork dragon. And the
Yeah,
wings look like it was made out of canvas, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I have one of them. I have technically two of them. One I need to paint, and the other one is just pre-painted. And I just look at it and was like, "Oh, this thing is awesome."
So, why is the most amazing aircraft in the world the B-52, and why is Buff always right?
Hey, Bo.
I just, I fucking love Buff. He's my favorite plane on. I mean, we're talking about habitual line crosser real quick, but like, there was a recent exclusive upload to Pepperbox, and you'll never see it on YouTube unless we pirate it over here. But it's well worth the $8 a month just to hear this ancient plane just get all fucking racist on you.
yeah.
As much as I want the kid and fucking Franklin the raccoon to escape the hangar and go make mischief, there's also part of me that's like, no, God, please do not. No, no. Keep the F-22 hangar. Do not let it go and do something. Have Armageddon, cats and dogs playing together in the streets in harmony. Literally, it'll happen. You don't want the kid out there.
It's such a
I like the idea of the floating death machines, the diesel punk. I do. I think it's impressive. I think it would be neat to have in a game or in a campaign or even just a book series like what Butcher's trying to do with his steampunk stuff. But there's part of me that's also like, I need a reason for them to exist. I need a reason. And that's the one thing. Like, if you're going about it the right way, crafting, you've got the resource management, and you've got it to where they can only make so many of these gigantic carrier death squad machine at a certain time, and
Well,
you can nationalize it. That's what you go for.
Yeah, that's something I am going to make with all but one nation, but the only nation that actually has the ability to just mass produce stuff doesn't, because they don't want the other nations to know what they're capable of. And that's actually part of what built into the book. Like, they will specifically go out of their way to even lose wars if it means hiding their technology.
Be careful with that kind of a storyline or concept, because you're going to rapidly run into the space AT&T problem that Battletech had.
Oh,
Battletech is a wonderful story with sprawling empires of retardation, from dumb Germans with money to dumb Japanese with honor, or dumb French and British who are just who have plot armor, to all glory to the grand coordinator and all and warrior houses, and then space Poland America, who just makes shit.
Wait. Space Poland America, what?
House Merrick. The people who, if they would just all glory to Purple Bird, the only good threat to the only real threat to America is another Merrick. All glory to House Merrick, where they have a civil war as often as most of us, go to work, and if the Free Worlds League would ever actually stop fighting, they would actually be a threat to someone, but they're not. And so you have and there's this great amount of plot line and industrial ability and war and everything, and then there's and then the space furries show up, and then and the space furries beat up everybody else, and then suddenly out of nowhere, space AT&T shows up, Comstar, and they have magic fleets that are bigger and better than everyone else. They have armies that just come out of nowhere that can stop the space furries who are better than everybody else. They have spies that are in everyone's houses. They know how to do it. They are so amazing and they're wonderful, and they come out of fucking nowhere. They just appear one day. They've been in the plot for a while. They've been in the background. Every source book is written from their point of view. In fact, every book opens with the idea that you are reading a secret intelligence document that's been compiled by Space AT&T, by Comstar, for the presenter Marshall or for the heads of Comstar. So you know that these are the spy masters of spy masters, but when suddenly, out of nowhere, the spy masters also have a bigger navy and army than everybody else. And they're more advanced than you.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mitigate that in the long term by the fact that they would eventually have to, like, I know it's people complain about storyline being moved forward in stories, but I was going to move mine more technologically than actually like socially. Like, eventually the other powers start developing technology, and this more advanced people are forced to reveal themselves as what they are. The only ones that do not reveal themselves and would have that plot problem are the Silverites, but they also consider everything else, since they are pre-fall, to be so primitive it's not worth their time, not even for conquering.
Right. But if you you have a Vorlon first one problem now, where everybody's out having fun, and then you go anywhere near the Vorlon space and you die.
Actually, yes, for players it's not a very high chance, but if non-player ships go up, there's a more greater than 50% chance their ship will just dock to the primary island of the Silverites, and they'll never be seen again. The ship will still there. Right. In fact, there's an actual company that gathers ships specifically from those docks.
But so you have it. The thing is that what you're describing now is the meta plot. So you run into there's probably going to be two plot lines. The plot line, there's two universes. It's the traveler saying, there's two universes: your storyline and the official storyline.
Yeah, that's fair.
So because this is an issue that I kind of ran into when I was talking with a different individual that I pissed off and they left. They had a very, very good, they had a grasp of what they think they would run it. But the thing here is that that's only if they're the GM. So if you are running your game for your players, you know how your game works. Your world, your secrets, your plots, everything, you know how it works. The problem here is that once you let somebody else play your world and run your world, they're not going to know what you know. They're not going to have the grasp of the information you've got. They're going to run it by whatever you've published. So whatever's in the player's handbook is going to be the main piece. I know that you've plotted, well, I've got expansion packs and splat books and secondary books that are going to be released, and you can't count on there going to be more books. You need to put the strongest, best foot forward. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast can get away with it. WotC can get away with it. Paizo can get away with it. Catalyst Game Labs can get away with it. But they're working with big IPs that have a lot of momentum. We expect from Pathfinder to not get the full game from the main rulebook. D&D 5th edition, sorry. We expect to buy 3 or 4 more books because that's D&D. I mean, Traveler, I expect to continue to buy books till I die because there's so much out there. But Traveler's 50 years old. I mean, Traveler's older than I am.
Yeah, well, something that Jade and I had discussed back when I was just starting to do this, he had pointed out that yeah, doing the whole player's guide, GM's guide, and monster manual is great for keeping things separate, but it's also not very practical if you end up only producing one book.
Yeah.
So I've already started working on a GM section which has information, and some of it could potentially be game breaking, but most of it is going to be just stuff the players are going to like, okay, I know that, and then because it specifically says in a couple places, oh yes, the players may know about it, they're not allowed to use it. It's too powerful.
No, there's certain things like you should make things accessible to players, but you should also make it to where the GM does have an out. Like
Yeah.
it in fifth ed, like you always hear me and guys like me complain about like, well, they made the game to where the player characters can get too powerful too fast. But the game is actually very quote unquote beatable as a GM because you can just take the monster manual and have a base ass monster. Be like, all right, well, here's an anti paladin, and now you made him into an anti paladin. And at that point, he gets all the same superpower heroes that all the regular player characters anti paladin gets. But now he's just a bad guy that's in, a anti paladin skin suit, and he's got a couple extra abilities because he's a furry bastard. You can, and you're supposed to do these things at least since third edition. They didn't really do this and encourage it in second ed much. They made third edition have an engine, which is very much necessity for a game like that because now we have a codified way for you to build any specific kind of creature, or you can build any creature or anything that you want. Now you have the way to do it, and here's the path. And so players, highly encouraged to build a character from Player's Handbook. While you as a GM are just, hey man, build shit. Just be building shit. And that's, something that I've just started to wrap my head around in the last 10 years and really enjoyed because there's not only things like bestiaries and other monster splat books, but then you have like S tier monster splat books like the Advanced Bestiary, which give you 100 templates that you can assign to monsters. And monsters are fun. They really are. When you add the monsters to the Player's Handbook and you create a society where this is a viable thing, we have Kazinti Samurai and fucking Tiefling fucking fighters or whatever. The game starts to get kind of fun for the GM because now they're letting their creative juices get really involved with the game, and that's what you want. But then when you have templates enter the game and you're giving things templates, now the templates are a monster manual it's an exponential monster multiplier. And now you have the ability to build anything your little heart desires to vex the player characters, give them puzzles, give them monsters, give them foes to actually be necessary to go against. Because no standard NPC class should really stand a chance against them. NPCs are there to encourage, mentor, and make PCs better, but they're not meant to steal the limelight. The game is meant for the players and the dungeon master to have a fun story. If you don't have a fun story, nobody sticks around to fucking 5th or 8th or 12th or 15th level. Everybody vacates because now there's no need to play. You've already beaten this world. All you're doing when you plug into that is you're just mentally jacking off. Ha ha ha! I spunked in that DM's face. There's nothing he's got that can beat me. Whereas I got a player that he's got a halfling, very deadly halfling character. But the way you beat him up is you get him at range. You get him with flying things that don't go into melee. I don't want to go against that little chainsaw. No, I'm going to fucking use these harpy rangers that have 4 fighters or ranger style feet for bow use, and they're just going to fucking be 400 foot off, just hitting them with 3 rounds, three shots a round, and before the end of the 4th round, he's dead. He's dead. So the game should be an equal amount of enjoyment and a little bit of exploration, or a bit of exploration, and then when you come against monsters, it shouldn't be we're farming experience points out. No, it should be a game where like, all right, here's the problem, and now it's up to you to figure out how to solve it. I.e., can you kill these monsters, or will they continue to be a threat for society if you decide to turn tail and leave? And
Yeah.
I love that. My players typically try to figure it out and kill them.
Oh, Bruce, if you go into Discord, our game Discord, and check Go General, you'll see the picture I put in for the AI generated image that inspired me to go. Okay, we can have planes. I get fighter isn't quite the right word because fighter, like Kai said, can be just straight BS if you have the right circumstances. Well, most circumstances. Uh, Planes is a better way of putting it because that's how it. That was the very first image that it popped up for that, and I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should add them to my game.
Travis, we're only going to hear about it tomorrow if he was white and Republican. Other than that, this story will disappear.
Yep.
Fun days. Fun days.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of things I thought was funny, I had to drive down to Bloomington Normal today to pick somebody up from the train station.
What's in Bloomington Normal? Oh, the train station. Okay.
As I got myself slightly turned around and I had to go do a circle to get back to said train station, we passed a movie theater, old fashioned marquee movie theater, right? Guess what movie they were playing?
Guess what movie they're playing?
Guess what? No.
Okay. Well, that there goes my idea of a good time, but okay.
Hundreds of Beavers.
Oh, dear God, they're playing that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I want to see this movie in the theater now. It wasn't, I didn't know this was an option.
Oh, God, no.
Bruce, would you like to see that movie in theater?
I would love to see the movie in theaters with my friends. I want to make sure Janet goes with us because she has a feeling she's made a statement that movie cannot be fun.
That movie is fun, but dear God.
That movie is even funner when you decide to make it a drinking game.
What rules would you use for it?
Every time the guy gets hurt, you have to take a shot.
Well, I'm dead.
That one would be just as dangerous as turning Deadwood into a drinking game every time somebody says cocksucker. At least on the pilot.
Yeah. But it'd be beautiful.
We could always turn Bruce's cussing into a drinking game during his game streams.
Fuck.
No, every time Bruce gets into politics, you have to take a drink.
Oh my God, you'd be so drunk.
Oh, I got tore up last night.
Yeah, I'll admit I spent most of the game slightly soused, but you guys know the reason. Well, Kai doesn't. Kai, I don't know if you know this about me, but I suffer from a mental defect that's just known as mental meltdowns for seemingly no reason.
You have a mental defect? No, really?
Well, one of the few things, at least until I get my medication rebalanced, because right now it's all fucked up, is alcohol. And I spent most of the day slightly soused playing with Bruce.
Did you have fun?
Yes, I did. And I'm actually quite pleased I didn't make as many stupid decisions as I was afraid I would.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that pic, well, I'll leave that statement alone. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture, and those are kind of Da Vinci-ish kind of thought processing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, this guy here, I appreciate him for playing along. He got carted off with Flady's Bard. Flady's kind of like the ladies' man. He kind of like he's super charisma boy, and he just kind of smiles at a woman, and she gets juicy fucking panties, and she's like, "Yeah, I got friends." And Flady's like, "Well, I got a buddy. Come on, let's go get him." So the four girls, Flady and him, go pick up Quinn, or Quinn and them go pick up Lemmy, and Lemmy ends up having kind of like a threesome. But one of the girls, she's not what she appears to be. And it was a lot of fun because the players kind of got onto this and they figured out, like, oh my God, something terrible is happening. And one of our friends is involved with it directly. I loved it. I loved it because I'm kind of dropping a plot point of what could happen later, and hey, there's a nasty succubus, really powerful succubus that's here looking for this fabled sword that's supposed to be crafted for Orcus, and she wants to give it to him. She wants to find it and give it to him. So the players might do that when they're like higher level, we hope. And in order for the sword to be properly made for Orcus, they gotta take it back to a forge and they gotta fucking christen it with the blood of a child, a newborn. And so here's this Alu fiend that just had sex with Lemmy. He's rubbing her stomach, and the rest of the party just has a ball trying to track her down, grab her, pin her to the ground, rip her wings off. And it was so good because, like, it's 7 o'clock at night now, and fucking David's like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was this late. I thought it was only like 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's one of the best compliments you can give a DM. Like, hey man, this is a good game. I didn't realize it was this late. Yeah, fucking got dark out, didn't it?
Yes.
Loved it. Had a great game session. And then got the players a few more plot points to get them closer to their direct destination. Not trying to spoon feed them, but here's dropping hints. Here's a clue for this, and here's the history for that. Before you know it, you guys will have what you need.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I kind of squandered an opportunity to get information out of the succubus, but honestly, after as many horny monsters that Bruce has sent after us, it's like, fuck this shit. I just pulled her head up slightly with my hand, and then poured holy water down her throat to finish her off. It's like, no, we're not dealing with this shit.
Sometimes you gotta do that. And you can't win every single game.
Yeah. Like at this point, our barbarian, because the last three like every single succubus that has shown up since he's appeared, he has physically touched. One of them actually basically mentally raped him. And so he's like, fuck this shit anytime there's a succubus. I was raped by a worm demon and had it impregnate me, which thankfully I was able to get myself purified. Otherwise, I probably would have turned into one. And then right before that, we had to deal with another. Right after that, I should say, we had to deal with another succubus. So at this point, it's like, fuck succubus, just die, bitch.
Wow, the urge for me to jump back into Bruce's game on Saturdays is really there. Good Lord. I sent you something, Bruce, on Discord.
All right, let me go look at it.
You might. It's through Facebook, so but yeah, it's funny. So it might have to wait, but I thought it was funny.
Oh, the Redneck SG-1. Yeah, that's fucking classic. All these redneck sci-fi shows, like the Trailer Park Enterprise.
Oh yeah,
this stuff is great.
I think I might have seen one of those. I seen like Redneck. Redneck 40K. Where's President? I look in the information for that all the time. Redneck 40K, and it's like Reboot Gilliman, but he's got like 3 teeth, and he's saying y'all a lot, and it was just. And the elf chick's actually some sort of like 80-year-old woman who thinks she's still hot and dresses like that. It was just fucking hilarious. The whole thing was I just laughed my ass off the whole time.
I sent you
play the audio, but I'll try. I won't try. Fuck that. I'll show it and do the captions.
You'll read, yeah.
See, this right here is one of the things I think II is actually meant for. Parodies.
It works.
I mean, yeah. Oh my goodness, they haven't been that perky in years.
Those look great. Oh fuck yeah, Richard Dean Anderson when he's skinny.
Hey, magnets, y'all. God damn it.
Oh,
Hold on, let me turn this off. That's getting away. Jesus, those look good.
I think I just found my new screensaver. I don't think that actor's ever been that small since high school.
No.
Cork. Okay, my second screensaver.
I guess I'm going to have to start watching SG1. No, I haven't seen it.
Really?
No.
I would say you're not missing much, but
You're not really missing much, honestly.
the best
Show.
the best part of Stargate, other than that, was Stargate Universe.
Okay, so what's better, Stargate or Farscape?
Farscape.
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 Wow, unanimous.
Farscape actually does a lot of interesting things with it. With its concept and story. I mean, SG1 does some really interesting things, but they tend to recycle some villains. Plus, I wasn't a big fan of the Ori plotline.
Yeah, the Ori plot was just basically the Q given more freedom.
Right.
Oh,
The replicators were an interesting concept, but they were a little overdone. They introduced the Asgardians, which were pretty awesome at first, but then they're just thrown into the dumpster because they needed to make the first one. Like, it's pretty much your Minbari Vorlon race. He goes, we've been around to go fight the bad guys forever, and now we're an old dying race of clones. It's your time now. Blech. And now the humans go from guys who have P90s to now we have spaceships, and now we really don't need to do the actual Stargate thingy because now we can fly around space with ships. And then you get the Atlantis spinoff, which is actually pretty good for a while, but then they reestablish contact with Earth, and Earth goes from we don't have spaceships to we have the Air Force makes a shitty Doom glider to now we have a Lego brick that's a space cruiser, and then somehow magically go from Lego brick space cruiser to one of the coolest looking ships in sci-fi, actually. But now that's your primary battleship that the humans have, that is a flying aircraft carrier doom rail gun, and it shoots more missiles than fucking God's got, and it can fight the bad guys everywhere. And it's just like, we have two of these things and they're invincible.
Yeah.
And then they get, it's like the plot line stays cool. Atlantis stays interesting. Meanwhile, SG1 kind of peters out and has the Ori plot line, which is nothing. And Universe might as well be its own thing that has no relation to anything else in the franchise, because it's an ancient First One's ship that goes around and throws Stargates out the butt every once in a while, and it's off doing whatever the fuck it feels like. And we're a bunch of humans trapped on this city-sized ship that's going somewhere. Can we steer it? No. Do we know where it's going? No. Can we go back to Earth? No. What are we doing here? Not dying. And That's it.
Damn it.
Man, this show is totally related to MacGyver in some way, shape, or form, with a crew of misfits that don't do shit. You could pass it. It's
I actually kind of liked Universe up to Doctor. I'm the only thing that exists in this universe because I'm the most important motherfucker alive. Doctor. I just hated that character.
Dr. Know-It-All, who is we're here because of me. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
And not only is it not my fault, I'm actually brilliant for bringing us here. It was obviously the best possible thing that could ever happen.
Yeah, you definitely was killed off before it had a chance, but when they pulled the trigger, it was a great start, and then they just kind of fumbled their way through the first season to the point where you're like, man, at least Crusade, Babylon 5 spinoff Crusade was murdered by TNT rather than what the fuck is this, which was Universe's problem.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
My hand, the guy was waving on my eyes just went fucking weird.
No, it wasn't just you. It was his hand.
Farscape was just better writing, better acting, better storytelling. I mean, writing and storytelling is the same thing, but it was just...
Writing and storytelling are not the same thing. You can write an amazing fucking book. Doesn't mean you told a good story.
Yeah. But plus they had a great cast of actors.
Yeah.
And plus Scorpius was definitely an awesome villain.
Oh, yeah.
I
loved Harvey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then after you get done with the series, you need to watch Peacekeeper War. And if you don't cry at the very end, just a little tear up, you're just not human.
Actually, that's the main reason I hated Peacekeeper War. It's like Cardago did not needed to die.
Hey,
that was just.
There are people out there that have not watched this glorious thing. Yes, it's been out for a couple decades now. I don't know what their excuse is. It's on Amazon Prime for free, but we don't ruin a good thing. And it's not like going to Passion of Christ in the movie theater and saying, "I wonder how this ends." No.
What about Titanic? Wasn't Titanic just like Passion of the Christ?
Unbelievable character who seems to be, a diamond in a rough, meets a girl, dies in the end. God, that sounds oddly familiar.
Man, I was shocked. I was shocked when the iceberg appeared. Who saw that coming?
It was a neat display of practical effects and CGI.
Oh yeah.
That's what I loved about it. The 2 hours waiting for the iceberg to show up
could not happen fast enough.
No.
Now, I love this conspiracy. I'm not much of those tin hat guys. I'm like, whatever, and just move on with my life, right?
Ooh, are we going to talk about JP Morgan Chase?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's
this. Time to watch a video with me
tonight?
Yeah, right now.
I'm, as a general rule, I'm gone when my cigar is gone. So you have this amount of time.
You fag. Hold on, let me.
But there's conspiracy that the Titanic wasn't actually the ship that sank. It was a yeah. They just stripped off the name, repainted Titanic on it. Oh my God! If this ship goes down, that'd be horrible. But the insurance
would be horrible.
But yeah, as I said, the insurance payout will be great. Oh, speaking of JP Morgan and all of them, have any of you guys seen this TV show on Amazon Prime called Timeless?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I got more stuff.
Oh, it's fun. It's interesting. All right.
Okay. This is King Trout. This is 12 minutes of your life that I'm gonna hope he gets my $1 of beer.
The year is 1912. The world's wealthiest elite are dining on caviar and oysters while discussing oil futures, railroad monopolies, and which brand of cigar pairs best with unfathomable amounts of inherited power. All
I
aboard
know
a
that
ship
answer.
being hailed as mankind's greatest feat of engineering, a floating palace so luxurious it made Versailles look like a Motel 6. The Titanic. But below deck, far beyond the Art Deco wallpaper, chandeliers the size of small cars and doors that are apparently too small to fit 2 people on them, something nefarious is going on. Not just in the...
I think the way he starts this video is fucking classic. He probably does one of the best introductions for the mysteries of the Titanic and everything, the exigent circumstances surrounding it. This is a way for you to learn some great history when Nick is not available to do so.
boiler rooms, but in the boardrooms. Because according to one theory, the Titanic wasn't sunk on accident by an iceberg. It was sunk on purpose by a banker. And not just any banker, J.P. Morgan. I'm King Trout, and no, honey, don't worry, the blinking red light means it's off. Join me today as we discuss one fishy theory discussing the sinking of the HMS Titanic. Just before and during the turn of the 20th century, J.P. Morgan was Wall Street's apex predator. He was America's mustache-twirling, railroad-owning, government-bailing-out robber baron. And maybe, just maybe, a man who orchestrated one of the deadliest mass murders in the 20th century, all to reshape the global financial system.
Okay, before we let that go further, anybody have anything else to add they want to talk about with J.P. Morgan Chase? Anything else you want to accuse him of, which is going to be factual because the guy was fucking evil on 2 legs.
I was about to say being one of the greediest motherfuckers on the planet, since as far as I know, he's the one that started banking.
Screwing over Tesla.
That's an interesting one. How did he screw over Tesla?
Because he took his money from Tesla and gave it to Edison by giving the transfer.
Einstein.
What?
It was Einstein. I don't think Thomas Edison was alive during that time.
Yeah, he was. Thomas Edison and Tesla.
Einstein or Edison?
Tesla used to work for Edison until he broke off and started doing his own thing.
I could have sworn it was Einstein.
Einstein wasn't even born yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's meet our villain. John Pierpont Morgan wasn't just a rich guy with a stupid-ass middle name. Oh no, he was a rich guy other rich guys went to when their empires were collapsing. When the US economy nearly collapsed during the Panic of 1907, it wasn't the government that saved it. It was J.P. Morgan. He essentially acted as a one-man Federal Reserve before there even was one. And that's where the problem begins. Morgan was a firm believer in centralized banking. He wanted a national reserve that could control money supply, inflation rates, and prevent bank runs. Because if Morgan was going to control the country, he needed to control its money first. But here's the kicker. Not everyone agreed with him. Some wealthy power brokers wanted the banking system to stay decentralized and to remain on the gold standard. Among them, some very important men who had first-class tickets on the doomed luxury liner. Let's talk about 3 names that always come up in Titanic conspiracy circles. 1.
Okay, before we go into Guggenheim, can anybody talk to me about why would taking a money standard off gold and putting it in paper, why would this be bad?
I think our current situation with the petrodollar says it all.
I feel like this is a Khy answer.
No, I'm good on this one for a moment because I really hate a lot of this.
Okay, well, the petrodollar answer that Dave gave us is pretty fucking close to correct because the petrodollar can be manipulated as fuck. Really, gold can't.
Gold is gold.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Benjamin Guggenheim, industrialist, heir to a mining fortune. He funded Tesla back when everybody called him crazy for it. No, not that one, the other one. And allegedly an opponent to centralized banking. 2. Isidor Straus, co-owner of Macy's, former congressman, and again, no fan of the Federal Reserve. And 3. John Jacob Astor IV, one of the wealthiest men in the world at the time, and again, an opponent of the Federal Reserve Act. All 3 men died on the Titanic, and all 3 were opponents of J.P. Morgan, both financially and ideologically. And all 3 could have thrown serious wrenches into the establishment of the Federal Reserve Act. Now ask yourself, what are the odds that these 3 men, all titans of industry and opponents of the Federal Reserve, just so happened to be on this ship that sank, while the one man, their strongest opponent, coincidentally, was not? Well, about that. Here's where things get weird. The man who stood to benefit the most from their deaths, J.P. Morgan, was also supposed to be on the Titanic. He even had his own suite. His luggage was on board, his top hats were in the closet, the press even announced his attendance. But then at the last minute, like hours before, he announced that he would not be departing. Morgan pulled out at the last minute, citing illness or urgent business, but guess what? Days later, witnesses spotted him enjoying a leisurely stay at a resort in Aix-les-Bains, France, perfectly healthy, puffing on cigars as if nothing were wrong. He looked like a man who didn't just dodge an iceberg, but he'd planned on it. Even his friends raised eyebrows. And when you're so suspicious that even Gilded Age robber barons think it's a bit shady, it says a lot. April 10th, Titanic departs Southampton. Aboard, 2,200 passengers, a veritable floating social ladder. But beneath the silverware and champagne bubbles, things were off. The ship only had 20 lifeboats, even though it was designed for 64. The excuse? It was too cluttered. Aesthetics over survival. And then there was the lifeboat drill, scheduled for the morning of April 14th, the morning the Titanic sunk. It was canceled at the last minute. No explanation was given for this cancellation, almost as if they conveniently didn't want people to be prepared. Later that evening, the Titanic sailed directly into an iceberg field. Not in a cute metaphorical way, I mean they literally sailed into a field of icebergs. They received warning after warning. At 9 a.m. from the Caronia, at 1:42 p.m. the Baltic, at 7:15 p.m. the Californian, at 9:40 p.m. the Mesaba, which they completely ignored, and at 10:55 p.m. the Californian attempted to warn them again, to which the Titanic told them to shut up. Captain Edward Smith, he kept going, full speed, no deviation.
That guy was cast properly. King Theoden looks a hell of a lot like that man.
Oh, yeah. That was a
No slowing
brilliant
down. At
casting.
11:40 p.m., the Titanic strikes an iceberg, peeling the hull open like a tin can. Panic follows. Lifeboats are launched half full. Crew miscommunication runs rampant. First-class passengers are told to remain calm. Don't worry, everything's fine. By 2:20 a.m., Titanic sinks beneath the waves. Astor, Guggenheim, Strauss, all dead. 1,500 souls lost. Meanwhile, some of Morgan's business associates, they happened to survive. Others who had planned to go, cancel. And what about the Californian, the ship closest to Titanic? It ignored the flares. The wireless operator, conveniently off duty. The communication systems experienced multiple malfunctions over the course of the sinking. Communication systems which had been funded by our boy, J.P. Morgan. Let's turn the conspiracy up a notch. There's a theory that, and bear with me through this one, the ship that sank wasn't actually the Titanic at all. It was.
Okay, so here we go into some fun discussion. Before we go further on this, Connell,
Yes.
are you learning anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure because all my friends, you're the one that I want to have things straight with the most. We disagree the most, but I want the facts to be available to you.
Right.
Here we go.
We don't.
It was a different ship. The Titanic's nearly identical sister ship, the Olympic. Why? The Olympic had been damaged earlier in a crash with the Royal Naval warship, the HMS Hawke. The damage was severe, and the ship was deemed financially unviable. Both the Olympic and the Titanic were owned by the White Star Line, which was in turn owned by the International Mercantile Marine Company. You want to guess who owned the International Mercantile Marine Company? J.P. Morgan. And after the Olympics crash with the Hawke, he stood to lose a fortune. Due to the damage caused during the collision, the Olympic was deemed uninsurable. So the theory goes that they switched the ships. They disguised the Olympic as the Titanic, filled it up with coal, passengers, and a few inconvenient millionaires, and then sent it out to sea, knowing full well it would not return. Insane? Maybe. But if you were a robber baron in 1912 who controlled banks, shipping lines, newspapers, and politicians, is it really unreasonable to do something like that? He was arguably one of the most powerful men in the world at the time. A few shipyard workers claimed to see inconsistencies on the so-called Titanic. Porthole placement, deck layouts, screw configurations. Now, opponents to this theory state that the insurance claim would have resulted in a loss for the White Star Line. The insurance payout for the Titanic was $5,1912, but the Titanic cost $7.5,1912 to build. And to that I will counter, a 67% return is better than a 0% return, and were Morgan's intentions to get rid of these three opponents of his? Being as he was one of the wealthiest people in the world at the time, I don't think $2.5 million is really an unreasonable fee to make that happen. Just saying. Now for some logistics. Multiple Titanic researchers agree that a coal fire was raging in one of the ship's bunkers before it even set sail. Firemen aboard the ship were ordered to keep the fire secret, and photos of the Titanic before it set.
This is good. This is good. You see that right there?
Yeah.
Okay. He'll describe this in about a second or two, but like if this is correct and this thing's setting sail with fucking coal on fire, we're lucky the thing didn't blow up in the harbor. Like, what was the catalyst for the U.S. going into war, World War I?
Spanish-American War. That would be the mains explosion.
Thank you.
Catalyst for going into war with World War One would be Lusitania sinking.
Lusitania
Don't
was
touch our boat.
coal-fired. The Lusitania was coal-fired, and we had wasn't that parked in Cuba at the time?
No, that would be Maine. Maine had a mine coal fire, coal bunker / ammo explosion.
Yes, and the coal dust catches fire because there's all those guys smoking cigars, and just one careless spark, whoosh. We're lucky that didn't happen here.
Yeah, I
Here we
feel
go.
targeted with that statement.
What?
I feel mildly targeted with that statement.
No, motherfucker. There's like 70 guys like you on the ship. You're not the one targeted.
All right.
It's not you.
A massive black smudge right where the iceberg supposedly hit. So here's the theory. The coal fire weakened the hull. The iceberg was just the coup de grace. An insurance scam turned into a mass casualty event, and the timing was just too perfect. Hell, maybe the iceberg was legitimately an accident on top of the coal fire. I don't know. Either way, the ship sank. Morgan's top three rivals are dead, and less than a year later, on December 23rd, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act passed. It creates a centralized banking system which can manipulate interest rates, issue currency, and stabilize the economy. Exactly what J.P. Morgan wanted. With his ideological opponents at the bottom of the North Atlantic, the road was clear. The Fed becomes the most powerful in.
Go ahead.
There's also something else. I have watched several documentaries on the sinking of the Titanic, like not even conspiracy theory. They can prove that there was substandard construction used in the construction of both ships. Cutting corners, lack of bolts, thin metal, all kinds of shit.
Khy, would we consider this to be would this be coincidental, Khy?
Come.
Think of who we're talking about.
Oh, I know what we're talking about, but individually, yes. We start putting it together to a bigger picture. That's when some things start to go.
Anyway, I just thought that would be kind of interesting to think about, because here we've got a guy with two giant fucking ocean liners and he's wanting to make insurance profits.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
It's perfect, honestly. So
What? Say again?
it's perfect, honestly.
Yeah. Thank you, King Trout. Keep going.
Institution in America. It controls inflation, dictates recessions, and is accountable to no one but itself. It's like giving your bookie control of the national treasury. And wouldn't you know it, all this happened just in time for World War I, the Great War. This was a time when it would prove very convenient to be able to print money on demand. Coincidence?
Maybe.
But when coincidences start to stack this high, they almost start to look like blueprints. Morgan skips the voyage, anti-Fed bankers die, the Olympic is quietly retired, and America enters an era where a handful of private banks quietly control the nation's currency. Even Thomas Jefferson warned of something like this happening all the way back in 1816 in a letter to John Taylor. And I sincerely believe with you that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. Let's do the post-game analysis. JP Morgan. He avoided financial catastrophe and took control of the United States economy. The Federal Reserve. It became the shadow government's piggy bank that exists to this day. And insurance companies. They paid out big but dodged lawsuits thanks to loopholes in maritime law. The losers. Guggenheim, Astor, and Strauss, because they're all dead. The White Star Line, as it was eventually absorbed by competitors. And everyone who believed the Titanic was unsinkable, because they look like stupid wee-wee-head idiots. History is written by the survivors, especially when they own the publishing companies. All right, let's play devil's advocate for a second, though. The Titanic really did hit an iceberg. I mean, there's a lot of evidence for that. Maybe Morgan actually canceled his trip due to health reasons. He was 75 years old and had severe rosacea. He also did die within a year of the Titanic sinking and 9 months before the passing of the Federal Reserve Act. But that's not to say that he predicted his own death. I mean, obviously, had he the intention of living forever, he would have been very thrilled with the results. And Astor, Guggenheim, and Strauss weren't all explicitly against the creation of the Fed. It's just kind of implied from their behavior. And there's some claims that Strauss was actually in favor of creation of the Fed. The Olympic switch theory also has some logistical problems. Primarily that were the switch to have taken place, hundreds of crew members would have had to have kept that a secret. I mean, if they even knew in the first place, you know. And all of those are valid counterpoints, but conspiracy theories aren't built necessarily on the evidence that's available to us, especially when those in charge of disseminating it have something to gain. They're built on patterns, coincidences, and power imbalances that make you question whether the truth is what we are told it is. And when the guy who stands to gain the most from the disaster also happens to be the guy who controls the means of communication, investigation, recovery, and literally owns the fucking ship, it's entirely reasonable to ask some follow-up questions. So, did JP Morgan orchestrate the deadliest maritime disaster in peacetime history just to orchestrate the implementation of the Federal Reserve? Well, there's no smoking gun, no signed confession, and no 1912 CCTV footage with, a minute missing for some fucking reason. But there is opportunity, there is means, and there is a long, dark history of powerful people making problems go away when they stand to gain something. At the end of the day, the Titanic was more than a ship. It was a symbol of hubris, of inequality, and of the systems that always seem to fail when we need them most. And maybe, just maybe, it was the sacrificial lamb to America's new financial god, the Federal Reserve. As always, I've been King Trout. Thank you for watching. I'll see you when I see ya. Bye.
So that's one of my favorite new channels. That he's not new. He's got over 100,000 views.
Yeah,
Really
I have
good.
absolutely no doubts of that, right, whatsoever. I mean, it honestly makes sense if you think about it, especially given the way people acted back then.
What else do you want to discuss about the Titanic there, Connell? Because that's a good launch point.
That both Rose and Jack could survived on that door.
They have look. MythBusters actually proved they tested the density, they tested the size of the door. The only way they could have survived is if they actually had a high IQ. And neither of them, from the entire fucking movie's outset, had a high IQ. Both of them were fucking average at best. Honestly, I think they were both below average, potentially bordering on special needs.
Part of me wants to go all Donald Trump on this. I don't know. I think that Jack was probably pretty smart. Found the biggest hootered girl. I'm going to spend 5 days inside that. And he did his best. I like it. Go ahead, Kyle.
I got nothing.
I love you, bud. I missed you.
I love you too, brother. No, we don't argue that much.
If only she was a supermodel from the UK. I mean, the Ukraine.
Was it you, the one who showed me that cartoon years ago about the guy talking about the federal bank, how Rockefeller and I can't think of the other person back in there all got started with the French Napoleon era war. They bet on both sides. Yeah,
Might have been.
yeah, I think it was you. It was an interesting cartoon.
So my sister always says that conspiracy does that. Too many people would have to know about it, and nobody could keep secret. So I think my sister's in on it.
And my sister like she doesn't like not believe in conspiracy theory. She's got the attitude of it's not worth her time.
Well, that's where your sister's wrong, and you got to show her our friend King Trout. You got to subscribe to King Trout's channel. I hope people do subscribe to his channel from my just introduction. If you've never seen
I,
it.
Well, I might actually go check him out. He's a lot of these conspiracy channels are very bland, dull, flavorless, however you want to look at it. But he actually made it interesting.
Yeah.
no, I just actually describe sub to his channel as we're talking about it. There's this other guy who does. I don't know. I've been in a weird kick. There's this guy. He wears a flannel. It's like Mister something or whatever. He wears a flannel and he talks.
Ballin?
What?
Mr. Ballin?
Not Mister Bond.
Okay.
Anyways, he talks about like people's experience on the Appalachian Trail,
Ooh, I bet that's got some interesting stories.
and it is interesting.
Oh, I've got not too many. I've only got really 3 really good like what the fuck stories. One is completely explainable. 2 are not. Then one that's explainable is the monster of Morton Slough. I seen what look. My father says the only thing that really appeared would be barracuda, but it was something to me like a pike, or is it the other way around? The one that lives in the sea is what it looked like to me. At any rate, it was.
Square pants.
That
I
would be a barracuda, a pike.
A barracuda.
A pike.
Okay, yeah. So I had it right the first. What I seen what looked like a lot like a barracuda, but it came up to the shore within easily 10 feet of me, of the very shoreline, so I could see its head clearly at any rate. And then I watched it open its jaws and snap my line.
Yeah.
And then it just proceeds to just swim off like fuck you.
Pikes are dicks.
And I'm now here's the funniest part about that. I looked up the area, the lake Morton Slough, and there is a site that is dedicated to the myths and legends of this area. It has specifically says there are no legends or myths associated with Morton Slough, which means I'm not the only one that has experienced that fucking fish. But the other two is there up at my grandma and grandpa's place when I was a kid. There was an area with 4 very distinct trees, for lack of a better term, and the forestry was so thick above my head I couldn't see the sun. I went back to that same area the next day. Those 4 trees were gone, and the sun shined through just fine. And the last but not least, when I was much older, was out in my other grandmother's field. I seen a blue entity wave at me. I have no explanation for that one at all. At least with the tree one, it's like, well, maybe I found the wrong spot, and it's just not what I remembered, maybe. But that one, I seen a blue entity out in the field wave at me, and then it just disappeared, all walking against the wind style.
What? Hold on. I can explain this one. But I need to do something first. Okay, I messed up my hair a little bit because of aliens.
I knew you were going there. Yeah. Unadmittedly, it's like those. I started watching Ancient Aliens after that, but yeah, it is like some of the things they talk about on Ancient Aliens. It's really freaking weird. I have never experienced that since. Nobody on my property on the property has experienced it since. It's just one of those. I'm not even 100% sure it wasn't just my imagination. That's how odd this was. Of course, with that said, I can honestly say I have hallucinated because of my mental defects. But I've always been able to tell what's a hallucination and what isn't. Like, for example, when a sock crawls out of the hamper and crawls across the counter, that's a hallucination.
You know, I've had bad ideas where like I would have a cum sock crawl across the ceiling before, and that's just fucking nightmare fuel.
Your children would like to have a word with you, Bruce.
One of the absolute worst hallucinations I ever had was I was laying on my bed. I was like half asleep. I look up at my ceiling and I just see like literally dozens of gigantic spiders crawling like on strings coming down at me from my ceiling. I melted off my bed and turned on the light and see nothing there.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I had a bad idea once. I got married.
Well, that's not a hallucination. You wish it was, but it's not.
Yeah. So all things, outside of inside and whatever fuck side. How you doing over there, Khy?
I'm doing okay.
Probably
Honestly.
thinking about shutting the stream down in a bit.
Same. Sorry,
Yeah.
getting a little on the tired
It's okay.
side.
Well, as soon as I seen Khy sit forward, I seen his eyes. It's like, oh, Khy's fading.
I'm trying to stay focused.
Yeah, well, hey, I have been slightly soused all day, and that's starting to catch up with me in that aspect as well.
Well, I guess we've been here for 2.5 hours, and I was really enjoying our palaver. But it is time for us to get going because I do need rest for tomorrow when Yana is on its way. Have you guys ever seen a movie called The Lost Boys?
Yes,
Yep.
actually, I enjoyed it.
Is that the movie that has the Corey Feldman, which he should have been the first one to get sacrificed? I mean, not to survive. I mean, yeah. I reviewed that movie about a while ago.
I love that movie.
We need to review a different a podcast, a YouTube channel's episode. Bruce, after watching it, I got questions, and if
Wait, after watching what?
after watching the one you told me about, not the one you sent me, but about a certain gentleman that lives in the land of seal fuckery. He happens to go caw, 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 if you're getting where I'm laying down.
The Crow.
No. It does start with a C, though.
I'm not aware of what I sent you to go watch.
Oh, no, you didn't send it to me. You told me, he did a video on me.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
The trash seal, as you like to put it. The trash seal.
I think I think it's time we review one of his videos. But you might be a better person than I am, and I'm just petty. And Khy just doesn't give a shit, wants me to shut up so he can go to bed.
No, it's simply the fact that I've got no reason to be to really think too much about him. So I really had nothing I can really add to that. To that. So
I mean, I might have to invite you for that one as well, Khy.
for what? I mean, I'm
For
not
your-
part of this.
For your opinion. For your
So I can provide an unbiased, independent view of what's going on,
yes, most indubitably.
because I, I guarantee you that there's a good chance I have no idea what's going on, because most of my diet away from talking here is mostly listening to people drone on and on about weird history facts. So I'm like, does it does this involve the Liberty ship in some way? No. Okay. I haven't been reading on this one. Or yeah, my viewing diet is about how Clarda is going to crash the industry Captain America right now, and
Have you heard how Florida is becoming the new Australia with their herpy monkeys?
yay.
I don't know where that is at. This is awesome.
There are right now there are 4 places in the world that has herpes. You can catch herpes from sources you weren't expecting it. 1, Florida with monkeys. 2, Australia with the koala bears. 3, back to Australia with the Tasmanian devils. And 4, your local retirement home.
Well, thank God I'm not going to
Well,
be in one.
Connell, I don't want to know how you know that last one.
You work in one for you work in an elderly care facility for any amount of time, and you're going to hear about all the weird shit that's going to happen there.
The biggest problem most nursing homes have is bed hopping.
Yep. Old people fuck more than young people. It's
Yeah,
insane.
no, I was implying that Connell was an old lady chaser.
Listen up, Bubbles. That's not the case. I am a pumpkin smasher. I prefer redheads at appropriate age.
Hey, I'm not judging.
Uh-huh.
I just have not the best experience with old biddies, because what lives around here is old biddies. There's almost no cougars to be found.
I've never been with a cougar. I've been with a puma once.
But-
Anyways.
All right.
All that
We'll be
thing.
back next in 2 weeks. And,
Yeah.
if you get stuck in the villages, just wear a body condom.